and Bernardsville Borough / Streams.
I'm sorry, I didn't start typing. Do I have to put
You
that in the
don't have to
transcript?
put that.
Okay.
You don't have to put any of the statements.
Okay.
This link will also be available on the agenda for each meeting, which is posted on the Borough website, borough.org, and on the Borough Hall Public Bulletin Board at least 48 hours prior to meetings. Notice of these changes has also been emailed to the Bernardsville News and Courier News by posting a copy on the Borough website and by filing a copy with the municipal clerk, all on January 16th, 2024. It's the intention of the board not to continue any matter past 11 p.m. at any regular or special meeting of the board unless a motion is passed by the members and president to extend to a later specified cutoff time. And the same shall be announced at the opening of each meeting. In addition, the board does not intend to begin a new hearing after 10 p.m. or begin testimony of a new witness after 10:30 p.m. Any hearing conducted by the board is a quasi-judicial proceeding. Any questions or comments must be limited to issues that are relevant to what the board may legally consider in reaching a decision. The quorum appropriate to a judicial hearing must be maintained at all times. Roll call.
Mr. DeMarco,
Present.
Ms. Gardner is absent, Ms. Geller, present, Mr. Graham,
Here.
Mr. Horowitz,
Here.
Mr. McQueen,
Here.
Mr. Simoff,
Here.
Mr. Walden,
Here.
and Mr. Zazarino.
Here.
Thank you. We have a quorum, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, could I get that one more time? Please? The roll call is on transcript or no?
It's
Yeah. Okay.
No one. The meeting minutes,
It's on the agenda.
yeah, the April 11th minutes. You handle them,
You just need to start.
No, we didn't.
we just have to.
Okay.
They were on before, but they
Just
weren't
like-
completed.
do them. Okay, any comments on April 11th?
I have a question about the minutes. The minutes have now become very brief, which is okay as long as the video is kept more or less in perpetuity.
Well, that was done primarily for this particular application because the hearing length is so long.
Well, we
And
do, if I may, Mr. Chairman and Vice Chairman, and we do have transcripts, right?
Yes.
Correct.
Provided, so,
For this
this might help.
Okay,
It has, it's just, okay, after this one, we need to agree that we'll go back to the prior format, which,
When we don't have a transcript, we don't have transcripts,
Okay.
absolutely.
okay.
all right, any comments on April 11th? I have not. I take a motion for April 11th,
I'll move to the minutes for April 11th.
all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Who seconded
One
me?
abstaining.
Ms. Geller.
Okay, they do.
Okay, minutes for June 27th. There's a transcript for that.
Yeah, and the minutes, hey, the transcripts attached. Just make
It was.
It was an email that I sent.
Yeah, right, but the transcript was part of the official minutes, right?
Well, yes, but I can't take that document and
The
embed
answer is
it
yes.
in this
The
document.
answer is yes.
Okay,
yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Part.
So it's clear.
Yes, it's the summary, it's the cover page essentially, and it's the transcript.
Right.
That represents that.
I'll second.
All in favor? Aye.
I'm sorry, who was second? Thank you.
Any opposed? None. Guys, passed. No communications, I mean, I see there's a brand new planner, but is anyone here to discuss anything with the planning board that's not related to this application, to the application, the agenda tonight? You get a second chance. Okay, no business, no old business. New business, we need to review and approve the bills.
I'll move the bills in the amount of $11,651.15.
I'll second.
Roll call.
Mr. DeMarco,
Yes.
Ms. Geller,
Yes.
Mr. Graham,
Yes.
Mr. Horowitz.
Yes.
Mr. McQueen.
Yes.
Mr. Simoff,
Yes.
Mr. Walden,
Yes.
and Mr. Zazarino.
Yes.
You have an agenda item here for extension of time.
Oh, my apologies, that must have not been
Flipped in.
pulled off from the last agenda.
Okay, that was easy. Okay, so now the main event, we're public hearings, and we are hearing one, application tonight. It's a continuation of, Eventuality of Bernardsville LLC, which is also the Palmer application.
And Mr. Chairman, we have one recusal.
Such a deal.
Yeah, Joe gets it.
You're welcome, Joe.
John.
We do still have 7 members, all qualified, up to date, if you will, in the event we complete the matter this evening. But all can hear the matter, so we have more than a sufficient fund.
And we, in terms of the progress in this meeting, we are at the,
We're at the public comment, per the transcript. Maybe applicant's counsel can confirm same.
Yes, hi, good evening, everyone. John Wichiscala on behalf of AR Bernardsville. Pleasure to be back this evening. Appreciate the board carrying our last meeting date. We last appeared before you on June 27th. That was actually our 5th public hearing, so we're back tonight. It is our 6th public hearing with respect to this application. As council indicated, we did complete our case at the last meeting in June. You heard the testimony of our project architect. We've made a number of additional modifications based on comments that have been offered by the board and some concerns. Increased the setback out along Morristown Road as well as on the back side of the building. Made some architectural changes, eliminated that tower element. As you may recall, we discussed a number of additional comments, stipulations. One comment had been raised regarding from the Environmental Commission in the garage. We agreed to install an oil water separator to address anything, any oils, et cetera, that may come off of vehicles in the garage. Covered a lot of territory. We completed our case. Board actually extended the time that night. And we wrapped up with our witnesses' closing testimony. Really, we are left with public comment. We do reserve our right to provide any rebuttal, based on any comments that may be offered. I will, after public comment, offer a very brief closing statement. We have made a number of stipulations throughout, going back to the first date in terms of conditions, compliance with various comments and reports and things. I've actually provided Mr. Warner with a running list of what we believe the stipulations are that we've agreed to over the course of the hearing. So I'm sure we'll talk about those later in the evening.
If I may interrupt, Mr. Chairman, for the record, Mr. Warner had his own list and his list was longer, but
My list or your list? I think
my list.
your list was long, his list was longer, so anyway,
But ultimately, the board's list is what matters.
correct. So all that being said, I think we're really just at the point of public comment. Thank you.
So I guess, why don't you explain it, or, explain the rules of public comment to
Public
the
comment,
audience.
certainly, this is the time for public comment. This is a quasi judicial proceeding, as the chair mentioned at the outset. To analogize to a court, the applicant, like a plaintiff, has rested. Members of the public are not only providing comment, but it's more than that. It has the weight of testimony, and that's why I swear you in. Because we want you to have the ability not just to comment, but to have the weight of testimony for everything you say and show. So that is part of the constitutional right of due process and confrontation.
I'm sorry,
So,
can you,
constitutional right of due process and confrontation, both under the state and federal constitution. So as a quasi judicial proceeding, it's pursuant to the municipal land use laws, Open Public Meetings Act, et cetera. Each person who's making public comment, while you may have given your name and address before, please give your name and address again. I will swear you in. frankly, I may have sworn one or two of you in during the course of the questioning, to be prudent when certain comments were made. There's no harm if I swear you in again, so bear with me rather than try to figure it out if you were sworn in before or not. I'll swear you in again, and you make public comment with the weight of testimony on all matters relevant to this application. If you happen to have anything you want to show, an exhibit and the like, while I don't know that any were provided in advance, but if you do have any, let us know. We'll address it with applicant's counsel, copies or what have you. You know, you have the right to present not just verbal, oral testimony, but also documentary testimony, should you so desire. When the public comment period is over, which essentially you will let us know, and there's no further public comment, and there may or may not be time constraints which the chair and the board have the ability through case law to have reasonable time constraints. That's up to the chair and the board. Then when you are done, when all public comment is complete, the applicant, as he stated, he reserves the right to have a rebuttal, just like if it were in court, and to make any further comments. He also has the right to cross-examine and to ask questions of anybody who provides testimony, just like everybody had an opportunity to ask questions of each and every witness put on by the applicant. Part of the due process of the Constitution. When he is done with any rebuttal, and apparently there are additional stipulations, if I heard him correctly, then ultimately the matter is closed, the case is closed, the application is closed, and the board has its obligation to deliberate and vote. Before they do, I always, in every case, go through the relief that they are deciding, so it's clear. We make sure every applicant agrees that that is the relief required of them, and that they are requesting.
I'm sorry,
Required of them, and that they are requesting. And then also I will go through a list of conditions. That doesn't mean the board is going to grant the application just because I go through a list of conditions. I go through a list of conditions and confirm that they're all stipulated to by the applicant, because the board doesn't just ultimately vote on yes or no, because the yes is with presumably all the stipulated to conditions, which are designed to mitigate the detriments associated with any project. That's what they're voting on, yes with the conditions or no, ultimately. And the board may even want to seek to impose additional conditions or different conditions. So that's a process that takes place after your public comment and after the applicant completes any rebuttal and a summation, like in court. So that's how it must work under the law. And when we get to other stages, I'm happy to repeat and further explain if desired or necessary. Is that acceptable, Mr. Chairman?
Yeah, it is. All right, so it's open for public comment. Anyone who has a comment to make, please step down in front of Steve. You'll be sworn in, and we'll take your comments.
I do, I have a comment, but I don't know.
That's
Sorry,
okay.
I need to get their name. Oh, okay.
We're gonna do name and address.
Okay.
And then I'll swear them in. If you can, so she can, the acoustics, particularly with the fans, are a little rough. So if you can give her and everybody your name and address.
My name is Joanne Myler, and I live on 9 Hill Street in Bernardsville,
I'm sorry, 9.
9 Hill Street in Bernardsville,
Can you spell?
Meyler.
Thank you. And if you could just raise your right hand, if you don't mind, do you swear to God or affirm that the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes,
Thank you very much.
and well, my statement is that I'm opposed to the building. Is that okay to say that? And the reasons that I come against it is because I grew up here and I love Bernardsville. I love our community. It's the best place to ever have grown up. And right now, the traffic goes all the way past Oak Street. It's horrendous. So if we, and I always thought that we could only go 2 stories in Bernardsville. Now I'm hearing that this is supposed to be 4 stories high. And I don't even know how wide, but it's gonna cause too much traffic. It's gonna make the town look ridiculous. We don't want a Hoboken in Bernardsville. We don't. And Peter Palmer was the mayor when I was a little girl, and he was such a nice man. I always respected him and looked up to him. One time I was at a party and he came to the party for some reason and everybody, all the kids were so excited, and I just can't believe he would want to do this to this town, because I remember him as being a really awesome person. I looked up to him. I was young, a lot younger, but that's just my statement. I hope you guys can rescind this and turn it around. And that don't I don't know if this is a greedy thing, but don't let greed take over our country. This is just our little town. Let's just try to keep it the way it is, and so our grandchildren can grow up, and the legacy that he could leave behind is great. Like that center of town that it is right now is beautiful. Maybe he could restore it, make it 2 stories and redo it or something. It doesn't have to be 4 stories. And put all these extra cars on the road in our town and everything. So that's just really what I had to see.
I'd like to make one point, and that is, it's not a problem if testimony is redundant. In other words, don't feel that, oh, somebody said it, I gotta say something new. All testimony is fair game, it's just. It's okay, we realize that, you're right, so. Okay.
Everybody's letting everybody else go first.
A different question.
Your name and address.
Yes, Michelle Conover, Conover, 16 Boroughs Avenue.
16 boroughs.
16 Boroughs, Burrows, and that's in Bernardsville.
You swear to God or affirm that the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
Yes.
Thank you.
I'm just gonna read my statement. I would like to address the concerns that the Environmental Commission has concerning stormwater
I'm sorry.
management.
Do you mind, if you
I
can,
can
I know.
of it if you,
Okay.
if that's helpful, I can give it to you.
Sure.
I might read very fast. I'm a fast talker,
Okay.
but I can give you this if you want.
Okay.
Go off the topic, when you. Let her know if it's not on the copy.
Okay, I would like to address the concerns that the Environmental Commission has concerning stormwater management. You should know that I am on the Environmental Commission. We previously submitted 3 letters of comments to this board. For those of you who do not know, stormwater runoff is precipitation, rain, snow, sleet that runs off hard surfaces like pavement, sidewalks, or roofs. As a result of stormwater carries and transports pollutants such as trash, motor oil, fertilizers, and pet droppings, etc., into storm drains, which generally are not treated before draining directly to rivers, streams, and lakes. By law, all municipalities must at a minimum conform to the New Jersey Department of Environmental Protection Model Stormwater Control Ordinance. Stormwater management is not optional. The management rules require the use of green infrastructure to meet stormwater management standards for water quality, recharge, and volume control for all major developments. A major development means a development that disturbs 1 or more acres. Such is the case with the Palmer development. Green infrastructure mimics natural processes to absorb and store water rather than exporting stormwater directly to streams and rivers using concrete pipes. Green infrastructures allow stormwater to soak into the ground to recharge the groundwater into aquifers. We would like to see a comprehensive plan which shows in detail how runoff will be contained to lessen the impact of pollutants from entering surface and channeled water systems. It is worth noting that an increase of pollutants could be generated from heating and cooling systems in the 68, I think it's 64 units, and also with the associated vehicles that are anticipated. We believe it is unreasonable and antithetical to the NJDEP regulations that antiquated stormwater management methods be applied, grandfathered, or otherwise to this development. It seems that this applicant plans to do very little to control stormwater. This lack of concern for the management of stormwater is very concerning. We do not see a significant application for green infrastructure and best management practices which comply with the upgraded New Jersey DEP stormwater regulations. The purpose of these regulations is to reduce stormwater volume, a hazard for flooding and its risk to human safety and property loss. It also reduces pollution in our waterways, which is a health hazard. We question how the applicant's decrease of impervious surface was calculated, and more importantly, if this equates with their non-compliance of providing a plan to contain stormwater. We are confused by the statements that there is less impervious surface than the current property, when in fact the courtyard sits above a concrete parking garage. Where will this water discharge to, and how will it trickle down to the aquifer? Will any materials used here be pervious? We are concerned that the stormwater ultimately will be directed via conduits to the mine brook. We question the validity of the public statements made by the applicant that roof runoff is clean. We also question if consideration was made for how much pollution will increase with the number of apartment units and their corresponding cars. In addition to the increase in vehicular air pollution due to delivery trucks for apartments as well as commercial units. We question if the stormwater calculations provided in the April 26, 24 stormwater statement for a 100-year rainfall accurately reflects rainstorm currently experienced. Some experts state that these numbers are not currently accurate. As you can see, there are still so many concerns regarding stormwater management. The management of this runoff can directly have a negative effect on surrounding areas if not managed correctly. We simply ask that the regulations be followed at a minimum, or better yet, at an elevated level for the safety of all. So I don't know if you wanted this.
Sure, that one, pretty good.
Johanna Wissinger,
I'm sorry, Johanna.
Johanna Wissinger.
Can I have the spelling of both, please?
Yeah, sure, Johanna, Wissinger.
Oh, sorry,
Washington,
Wissinger.
yes,
Okay.
Washington Corner,
Did you want to respond to at least the Borough?
Can I get the address?
I'll chime in if I have any questions.
Washington Corner Road.
I'm sorry, what was the number?
81.
Washington Corner
Road,
and, where is that?
Washington Corner Road.
Bernardsville. Oh,
Bernardsville.
Okay,
Sorry.
okay.
That's a fair assumption. Peter's right, you swear to God or affirm that the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
I do.
Thank you very much. Please proceed.
I'm gonna read this just so.
Can we, I know like reading off of it, can you, we just maybe slow it down a little bit?
I will.
With that, thank you.
I've served on the Bernardsville Environmental Commission for many years. I volunteer because I believe that a healthy environment has a direct connection with the health of people. I believe responsible, thoughtful people can correct, improve, and most importantly, prevent negative consequences of poor environmental practices. I believe it's fair to say that those who know me know I am not against change nor development in general. I am for protecting entrepreneurship and individual property rights when these are not injurious, harmful to others. I'm prefacing my comments tonight with these two statements because I need to express my serious concerns for the Palmer redevelopment project, both as an environmental advocate and as a long-term resident of Bernardsville over half a century. Such a combining is very unusual for me, but now it's warranted. I try very hard to separate my role as an environmental commissioner with my citizenship.
Oh, so what was the last thing? Sorry.
As a resident, I tried to separate it. Most importantly, as the planning board members and the public just heard from Michelle Conover, AR is not in compliance with current and JDEP stormwater regulations. I'm referring to at least 1920 March 1. The current one, there's some interpretation of the July 2023, how we enacted it. The Palmer project's lack of required best management and green infrastructure, stormwater management has a specific serious potential of negatively impacting Mine Brook.
Sorry, can I get the last thing?
Sure. Mine Brook.
Okay.
I'm concerned that the public has not heard the report nor had an opportunity to ask questions of the municipally hired traffic expert. We did hear presentations from the applicant's traffic expert, I believe at least two. And in my opinion, he was unable to answer my questions adequately, not to my satisfaction. The following, I believe, are legitimate questions in need of answers from a municipally hired traffic expert. What is a responsible estimate of traffic that will be generated from the increase of the Palmer project from new residents, visitors of residents, business and residential workers, business and residential deliveries, commercial patrons in and out of the driveway, entrance and exit? How many of our existing commercial businesses will be impacted by the north-south 202 traffic gridlocks? I mean, now we know you cannot get to TD Ameribank, nor Peapack Gladstone.
I'm sorry,
or
what was the
into
second?
street.
Sorry.
Peapack Gladstone. Need order. Sorry, I was driving up.
Yeah. Can I
Okay.
can I get after TD Bank? Sorry.
Sure. In short, those of us who drive know that many of our businesses you can't get to because you are held up with the traffic grid. How many residents living on the roads around Olcott intersection? And how many residents living on the many side streets of Mount Airy Road, Anderson Road, Route 202 North will have their entries and exits blocked to and from their homes with traffic gridlock? Many of us already know that occurs. What is the degree of concern for the safety of pedestrians who walk past the driveway entrance exit going down to the underground garages of this project? Will this additional traffic increase the safety hazards for pedestrians crossing 202 at or near the familiar existing street crossword walk? I've personally seen whole track meets cross there. I've stopped and hope that I won't be back hit. Keep my foot on the brake so that I don't bump into a kid. I've seen kids walking from school, earplugs, looking at their phone. There's no line of sight there either. How specifically will oversized delivery trucks be managed? How will double parking be controlled, which may result from the backup of deliveries? How will this be prohibited at the Mount Airy driveway? We heard some explanation, but it wasn't really clear to me remotely. I don't know. It wasn't satisfactory to me. I'm thinking we want a better answer. Has the applicant, architect, and or engineer adequately addressed the problem of poor line of sight due to the buildings there, the new development?
Address the what?
Line of sight for vehicles traveling north on 202. And I did hear a board member, a planning board member, try to suggest that this is a problem and what the correction could be. Will the plans for removing, not sure if this was at 9 feet or whatever, of the existing Palmer building from the Mount Airy Road side of the present Palmer building significantly remedy the problem at the crossing and the visibility for right-hand vehicle turns? What are the estimates of increased vehicle exhaust from the increased traffic and gridlock? What assurances are provided that the vehicle exhaust from all the traffic traveling in and out of the underground garage will be adequately vented? Any of the underground big ones that I've been in, they've all had openings. I don't know how they're going to really handle this. How long will the overall construction take? How long will remediation take if contaminants are found in the soil from the historic gasoline tanks and home oil tanks?
I'm sorry, and home,
And home oil tanks. Will our small businesses be able to survive this road artery interruption, impeding customers from traveling to them? Overall, if there is any validity to any of these questions, my big question is, what feasible recommendations can our traffic expert or any third-party traffic expert suggest to resolve these problems? Can we widen the roads? Can we make one-ways the way they do in New York? How will this traffic change ever be resolved? Are there answers? I'd like to ask our traffic expert about that. How many classes that? Now, I have three difficult questions. This is not pleasant for me at all. I'm usually a little more copacetic about things, but I have three difficult questions that I feel an obligation to ask. One, is it good policy for municipal governance to subsidize a developer's project for a 30-year tax relief? Will this set a precedent? I don't know. It just seems to me that it should not be our public's tax burden, or we should not have to cover the risk of a developer. Two, is it good policy for a municipality to adjust ordinances to accommodate a particular applicant? Will this set a precedent? I mean, it was 3 stories. We were concerned about in the past. I've heard fire chiefs talk about, we have volunteers. We talked about looks. It's supposed to be a Victorian house, but design, but how will this 4 stories, why was this granted? 3, and the last one, how and why should municipal governances be involved with decreeing the need for redevelopment for individual property owners when possibly they've not provided found reason for maintaining their property? Is this something that is reasonable? Now, I realize the procedure of this applicant.
John, just state that, make that statement again. I want to be sure.
Okay, how and why should municipal governments be involved in decreeing the need for redevelopment for individual property owners? And has not, and by has not, I mean, has the owner provided sound reason why the property is in the state of need of redevelopment is what I mean.
Okay.
But I particularly said, we're not maintaining their property. I realize the procedure for this applicant is not typical, and that the planning board has been faced with a very difficult position. I really hope the decision you make can be the best for all of Bernardsville residents and business proprietors. The residents and businesses of Bernardsville are not responsible for the decisions of this overambitious project, their selection of this property site, its development design. It's the applicant's responsibility, and it was their decision and we should not have to suffer the consequences for it. Thank you.
Her name's on the. Just for something.
Joan Petrick Contest, two-word last name, P as in Peter, E-T-R-I-C-K, second word, C-O-N-T-E-S-S, 65 Peachcroft, one word, Drive, Bernardsville.
You swear to God or affirm that the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
I do.
Please proceed.
Echoing what so many others have said here in written editorials in the newspaper, let me state that I am not against development. Change is inevitable. Positive change can be elusive. The Palmer Project will transform our downtown in so many negative ways, ignoring many guidelines set in place by the town master plan. In increased height, in additional impervious surfaces, in less public space, in less green space, less parking than required, and less than the current amount of retail space, while increasing the traffic and obliterating a part of our town's history. All while providing the developer with a generous tax break that we, as tax-paying citizens, will be subsidizing. Shame on our elected officials who, for some unknown reason, have handed this developer the keys to the kingdom. Remember this when it's time to select a new town council and a mayor. I voted for those individuals who I believed had the town's best interest at heart and who I trusted with their power. Now it's obvious that I was wrong. Thank you.
Catherine Peachy,
I'm sorry, can I get that?
Catherine Peachy, P-E-A-C-H-E-Y. 70 Chilton,
Sorry, 70,
Chilton, C-H-I-L-T-O-N,
Catherine with a C or?
with a K and an A, 2 A's.
You swear to God or affirm the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. Please proceed.
It was exceedingly difficult for me to construct my comments tonight. For weeks, I went round and round. I thought, well, what was the point? For their own reasonings, when the town council rejected your collective decision as a planning board, they rejected your designation of an area in need of redevelopment, and they accepted it as that. They virtually handcuffed you. Mr. Warner reminded us, he reminded us all that the board can't change what has already been agreed to by council. So they handcuffed you as a diligent and necessary ancillary town board, and they handcuffed us as mindful residents looking earnestly to collaborate with developers. As such, the Palmer project is flawed from the start, and it's flawed in the end. It's imperfect with many points of weakness. The very first point of weakness is that we did not enter this project as a unified town. So now we all grapple with the frustrating result of being steamrolled into an oversized wall of development at a choke point in the center of town, with major parking and traffic congestion issues, with multiple questionable issues involving environmental safety, pedestrian safety, fire safety, with bare bones stormwater mitigation and management, and with very little overall general public benefit according to our town's overall master plan. I too had on here the objection to being, attached at the hip through a pilot with Advanced Realty. Joanne, you wish it were only 2 stories, but it started as 3. It was granted to 4, and now it leans to 5. That's taking an awful lot of liberty. The size and the scale was always a focal point for this project. And so Advanced Realty, yeah, you conform, you repeatedly poke that in our sides. But what are some of the flaws that don't especially benefit the town in its master plan? And which Advanced Realty repeatedly dismissed with phrases like, we don't see it that way. Or we'll have to get back to your professionals with more details. The architecture, a grossly oversized complex that doesn't reflect any special current or historical local architecture of Bernardsville. In fact, I believe Advanced Realty is demolishing local structures to erect a more or less homogeneously designed wall of apartments. But that's aesthetics and taste is personal. Green space. A cloistered courtyard is not public green space, nor is a concrete sidewalk planter green space. It might be streetscape, and that's nice, but it's not green space. Safety, there's so many safety issues. The environmental safety, the subject of cell towers comes up. It's a gray area. I know there are arguments on both sides. So I guess with that one, with findings that are inconclusive, we just have to agree to disagree about environmental safety. Pedestrian safety, the Mount Airy Bridge and the loading dock intersection, pedestrian safety of traveling students and locals and shoppers as they navigate the crosswalk just feet away from the apartment building's only ingress and egress location, the only one. Fire safety, like e-batteries. Governor Hochul described them as hand grenades. I advise you just not to let them have them. Excessive height concerns and access for the fire squads. Just last week, there was a fire across town on the first floor. They called in 5 other units, not just Bernardsville, for a first floor fire. And they successfully put that out quickly. And I hope they could do the same for something at 4 and 5. Butted up against railroad tracks. So, parking and traffic. Well, the fundamental flaw there was the traffic study was conducted with the understanding that really the traffic only goes 15 to 20 miles per hour. But that's magical thinking, because the state designates that 202 US highway corridor as 30 miles per hour. Third, parking management, no on-site concierge, 15 minutes for free. It's getting harder and harder for me to even get out of my car in 15 minutes. Fee to park, no specific area designated for Ubers, DoorDash, etc. There are so many day-to-day functions of a large apartment complex that are getting glossed over. Stormwater management, thank you for speaking to that. Right down the road in New Brunswick, they've already started a stormwater management utility. And yet here they said, we're really going to do just what's basic. And once we get shovels in the ground, we're grandfathered in and don't plan to make any more changes. That's not real forward thinking, and that doesn't have the town at heart. So in the end, it's true that you may be a fully conforming project, but that does not necessarily mean that you've truly worked in collaboration with the town or residents in a meaningful and co-creative way, that you bring upgrade and improvement on overall scale, and that this harmoniously sets a good example and leads the way for the other development coming on in town behind it. On the contrary, it seems to effectively illustrate that you cannot keep a town quaint, or you cannot keep the history in the forefront, and in fact must demolish historic buildings to satisfy a project that was flawed at the start and is flawed in the end. So at the very least, may this experience act as a cautionary tale going forward as more and more developers come knocking at Bernardsville's door. And regardless of whether or not I agree with you, I do thank you for the mindful attention and countless hours of review that you provide for the town. Thank you.
Andrew Fulls, Fuls, 41 Lindaberry Avenue in Bernardsville.
You swear to God or affirm that the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. Thank you. Please proceed.
I'm coming more from an engineering standpoint. I would like to just touch base, reviewing the redevelopment plan for the Olcott Square. And I just would like to touch on 4 areas of the plan and just make some comments on them. The first one is traffic. On page 8, the local redevelopment and housing law has required elements of which section A notes improved traffic as part of the requirements. I think the keyword is improved. On page 17, the 2017 re-examination of the land use plan introduced additional goals, specifically item 3, that says, quote, to improve the circulation patterns into and throughout the downtown. Obviously, even the testimony agreed that the traffic would increase, not improve the traffic and decrease the traffic. This plan does not accomplish these goals set forth in the local development and housing law, nor the land use plan. Page 21, the redevelopment plan components under primary plan goals, item 6, it states, quote, to address existing pedestrian and traffic circulation concerns. Whose concerns are being addressed? I don't think the public's concerns have been addressed. Was there any concerns identified throughout this process? Was the public's concerns identified? And how were they addressed? Any of the testimony that I heard had none of that. I haven't heard any concerns being even identified, no less addressed by the testimony of the traffic expert. Second area is historic preservation. Under page 14, the downtown core zone's intent is to, quote, preserve the historic character of the area. Page 19, the 1987 Somerset County Master Plan has the goal to, quote, protect and enhance significant historic cultural and archaeological sites and structures. Now, page 20 states, quote, the Palmer Square Development Plan is entirely consistent with the county's master plan. How is tearing down 2 historic structures from the 1800s preserving the historic character of Bernardsville or in alignment with the county master plan? You can't have both. You can't tear down structures and protect and enhance significant historic structures. The third one is acreage. On page 10, the tax assessed area of this plan is 0.98 acres, which is below the minimum 1 acre on page 24. Page 11 has a 2007 survey by Yannicone, Villa and Aldrich notes the acreage is 1.191, which is 21.5% higher than the tax assessed acreage.
I'm sorry, then the
21.5% higher than the tax assessed acreage. And then page 10 merely states survey information available has the acreage at 1.08, which again is 10% higher than the tax assessed acreage. However, no survey company has been provided and no date was provided. So how can there be 3 different acreages on the same plots? And which one is correct? Is the 0.98 correct? If it is, then this doesn't meet the 1 acre minimum requirement. Why has the name and date of the 1.8 calculation been left out? What is the true acreage? And finally, if the true acreage is the 2007 assessment, why has the town collected taxes for 21.5 less acreage over since 2007? Finally, administration. On page 38, sections D and I specifically notes that the planning board as an entity is to take action. Section E separates and identifies both the planning board and the borough council with specific actions and authorities. However, section O on page 39 states, quote, "The Borough of Bernardsville reserves the right to amend this plan." The Borough of Bernardsville, it doesn't say the council, it doesn't say the planning, it says the borough. In my opinion, by definition, that would mean all bodies of the borough have the right to amend this plan. And I believe that the planning board has the power and authority to amend this plan as it sees fit as well.
Sorry, I'm sorry, can I get the last couple?
To amend this plan as it sees fit as well. So based on the increased traffic, not improved, the increased safety risk, the destruction of historic structures, and the questionable acreage, I asked the planning board to reject this plan and exercise their right to amend the plan to one that is more in line with the character of this town. And finally, I'm really worried about someone getting significantly injured when they're crossing the street.
Significantly injured.
Injured or killed pedestrian wise. And whoever votes for this, be it the planning board or the council, if someone gets hurt or injured, that blood is on your hands. Thank you.
Hi, Sylvia Gills, G-I-L-S.
JLS.
G-I-L-S. 189 Washington Corner Road. In town.
Bernardsville, right? She said.
Yes.
Okay.
You swear to God or affirm that the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
Yeah.
Please proceed.
I'm sorry, I'm not prepared with statements and I will not speak as eloquently as those who came before me, but I will piggyback on something that was just said. What you plan on building is dangerous for pedestrians. I think about not just my children, but all the children who walk from school and use that area to access downtown. You're risking their lives. And I know this, I grew up in Elizabeth, New Jersey, one of the most urban, busiest cities in this state. I cannot think, and I taught there for 20 years and I still go there. I cannot think of one intersection in that entire town that is as congested as what Mount Airy and 202 is currently. I cannot imagine what it will become if these buildings go up. You are already doing worse than Elizabeth, New Jersey at this intersection. And now you're going to make it worse. And you are endangering the lives. Forget the adults. You're endangering, I don't mean like forget they don't matter, but we have more awareness usually. Children are going to be accessing this. And they are going to be hurt. It happens now. People don't stop at the pedestrian crossings. What is going to happen when they don't see the kids crossing and the kids are distracted?
These are our children. I did not move to this town so that I could remain in a town like Springfield or Hillside or Elizabeth. All towns I have resided in. I think it's shameful that you have all jumped, maybe not all of you, but many of you have jumped on board with this building and the one behind it. It's a grave mistake. And I'm telling you, the busiest intersection is right here, and you will make it worse. And you will endanger the lives of children. Thank you.
Barbara Long,
I'm sorry, can I get that? Right now?
Barbara Long, LONG. 28-2 Lloyd Road, LLOYD Road. Burns.
I'm sorry, what was the other town? What'd you say before Bernardsville?
28-2
Yes, I got that.
Lloyd Road.
Okay, thank you.
You raise your right hand, you swear to God or affirm the testimony you're about to give us the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. Please proceed and please speak as loud as you're comfortable speaking so everyone can hear you.
I have that fan. I think that's what it is.
I agree with everyone who has spoken so far, and they were far more eloquent than I'm going to be tonight. But mine comes from the heart. I've lived here more than 50 years, and yes, we've seen changes that have been mostly good for Bernardsville. We've always had a sense of community. We've had a sense of downtown. We seem to be losing all of this. Worse than that is what we also are going to be suffering from. I'm a small business owner in Basking Ridge. I feel for those small business owners in Bernardsville. They will not survive the construction. They will not survive the future traffic. Parking is bad enough now. So we're supposedly developing this one part of Bernardsville on one side of the street. And what is going to happen to the other side of the street? It is going to be disaster. And I don't know if the developers have made any concession for all those shops. Are they going to do something for them? Give them donuts, coffee, anything like that, so those shop owners can give them to anyone who comes in. They're going to need that. I'm also devastated with the water management. I think that is just horrible. On my little lane, we have just spent close to $20,000 in redoing water coming out of a drain and along our properties and everything like that. One small area that is not even with houses. It's along a lot side. Water management is expensive. It is difficult. When you don't get it right, it is horrible. And we were living with a situation that was terrible. We all got together and said, we will do this, this, and this. And we got in experts so that we are cleaning it up properly. I do not feel that anything I've heard in any of the meetings here have addressed the runoff and what is going to happen with that runoff appropriately. I do believe that this project at the beginning, Borough Council felt it was going to be a money maker for the town. And the town was hurting. We were one of those towns that was not like Basking Ridge that has no debt. We had a huge debt, and they were desperate to come up with something that might relieve this debt issue. I am horrified that they would take on a project like this, confirm it, without ever having a traffic study done before the project was accepted. And then to give tax relief in something that was supposed to alleviate the tax indebtedness in the town. I'm definitely against this.
Hi, Kathleen
Shepherd, 16 Ambar Road. Place, excuse me, Bernardsville.
Please raise your right hand. Swear to God, or affirm the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. Thank you. Please proceed.
Okay, and I didn't think I'd be speaking tonight, so I'm not too organized in my thoughts. My old thoughts, because I'm 80 years old. And I agree with people who say that their progress is not always bad. I think that is true. However, I feel like the development that is about to begin and the tax issues are not going to be especially good. I'd like to ask for people to tell me if I'm the only one that lives off off of Mount Airy Road.
Folks, please, well, we do need to stick to the legal procedures, so.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay, but this is, you can comment and, which is testimony relevant to the application.
Right, well, I was hoping I was not the only one that would be here that lives off of Mount Airy Road, but I am at Ambar, which is 2 roads up from the railroad bridge. And I've been here in Bernardsville for over 20 years at my little old antique house. The street I live on, at one end, the Mount Airy end, has petite antique houses. It's beautiful. My house is 110 years old. There's some that are older. I don't know why they were allowed to stay, but they did. The problem on my street is what's going to happen off my street. Everybody in a household these days seem to have a car. There's not like one car for 2 people. I don't know how they figured this all out as far as the traffic plan and the number of cars that are going to be coming in. But we're having problems on my street. People, it's like the city. They're jockeying for positions. Their disagreements, it's worrisome. And if you magnify it to the extent of this new plan for Bernardsville, I don't think it's going to be better. When I come out of Ambar Place and I want to go onto Mount Airy Road, I have to pick the time of day that I want to get out on Mount Airy Road to go into Bernardsville. I could walk to Bernardsville in 7 minutes if I walk fast enough. Getting out and getting on the road and driving to Bernardsville would be at least twice that long, sometimes even more. And these are regular traffic jams we go through because of school letting out. Also, school, Bernards High and the middle school and the lower school are all in one area of town. People come down Mount Airy to get there to the schools, and you can just about count on it for sure that there's going to be if you get on the road and you look at the amount of cars on it, it's 5 o'clock. It's that kind of difficulty that those of us who live in this area have. I cannot understand how this is going to be dealt with. I'm sorry, I just don't see it. I don't see how you could increase the 2-lane road, Mount Airy, coming down to the center of town. I also understand that there's going to be housing off of Mount Airy. Is that true?
You mean the affordable housing?
Yeah, is that going to be off of Mount Airy?
It's in progress, the Ammerman lot.
All right, well, that's
I'm
sorry, I'm sorry.
replacing the Ammerman lot with affordable housing, 12 units. Is in progress.
Is that the Allward lot or is that?
Ammerman lot, right next to the train tracks.
Can I get that straight one more time?
The
Sorry.
Ammerman lot
You guys
next
need
to
a
the train
microphone.
tracks.
AMMERMAN.
Thanks.
So that's going to add more people to the traffic issue, which I find to be
I find it to be a pipe dream. How people can think that this is going to be solvable. I would like, if you don't mind, to somehow give us, as has been said before, the plan and the estimation of the traffic. Because otherwise you're going to put in the center of town what you think is going to be so beautiful and wonderful, and you're going to take it away from the outer edges of town. I also wanted to ask the buildings that are in Bernardsville. I heard a rumor a long time ago that the owners of the buildings in which many of the businesses used to be that are no longer, they don't, for tax purposes, they don't really have to rent out their shops. Is there something at all?
Mr. Chair, if I may, respectfully, assuming the relevancy of those inquiries to the application that's before the board right now, even assuming procedurally, the board isn't here to answer questions at this stage. This is your opportunity, all members of the public, to present your evidence as well as your positions with respect to this particular application.
Well, I wanted to hook it up with the fact that maybe.
I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you.
I'd like
I'm
to,
typing.
if possible, if I'm not stepping on any toes, I'd like to hook it up with the possibility if they did better for their tenants, maybe we'd have people in the shops and we all wouldn't have that as the excuse for doing, I don't know, whatever they're doing. I just don't see Bernardsville being sacrificed. And that's what I feel it is. Thanks.
Rosalie Valentine,
Sorry, can I get that one more time?
Rosalie Valentine, B as in boy. Allantine, am I not being loud enough?
You know what it is? I got the fan.
Fans are
Yeah.
tough,
Yeah.
but they are, did you get?
Sorry, I didn't get the whole thing now. BALLAN.
Antine.
I don't even have that kind of authority.
Okay,
19 Pheasant Hill,
19.
pheasant like the bird.
Okay.
Yeah, you got it. Be ready to write down. You gotta get the best.
That's
No
awesome.
one's ever accused me of not being loud. So if you're as loud as me, you'll be fine. All right, do you swear to God or affirm that the testimony you're not about to give, excuse me, is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
Thank you.
Oh, I came here tonight and I was already so upset. I don't know if I don't speak loud enough, please tell me to speak louder. And after hearing all these incredible comments, I can hardly do this, frankly. It's so upsetting. This is just a disaster. Anyway, the Palmer project represents to me a complete disregard and violation of the rights of Bernardsville residents to be informed, consulted, and engaged from the beginning when a project of this size is proposed. This is extremely concerning. It will have a huge, irretractable impact on our town. There was no public involvement until the project had already been approved by the council and granted its special status by our council. Local input was only allowed after the fact. And we actually had trouble just seeing the plans for the first time. There was a long period when we didn't even know what we were discussing. What was the project going to look like? The many successive local outcries were essentially ignored. Too late.
maybe we could have at least achieved a compromise of 3 stories and a public pocket park. The bottom line, a complete lack of transparency and public opportunity to participate. Closed door governance. You have to wonder, are there other such projects now in the works? Past and present are at odds. Today, now, many months later, over a year later, the project before us is very different than residents were initially led to believe by AR's introductory presentation.
I'm sorry, by AR.
Excuse me?
Can I get that again? By, she said AR.
Introductory presentation. So we were told that the Palmer project would bring an infusion of life and activity in our downtown. It would cause a sorely needed revitalization of the area. It would be a great new opportunity for residents to meet and shop and dine and just hang out in public green areas. I remember some mention of an inner public courtyard, which would be open to everybody, as well as as well as a reference to Darien, Connecticut. What we now have before us is essentially a massive apartment building with private residences. It might as well be fenced and gated. However, this approach is consistent in a way. This lot has never been available to local shoppers. It's been for a long time a huge empty parking lot in our core area for private parking only. Today, we local residents remain basically helpless to suggest significant changes. It's very frustrating. So for me, it's very difficult to think of celebrating our centennial with the commemoration this project represents. It's so contrary to the character of our small beloved town, and I've known it for more than 80 years. It's more suitable to Morristown or Summit. We need projects that enhance our rural character, not destroy it. How could anyone who truly cared about this town, its past, its present, its future, propose such a project? For me, it's a dark day in Bernardsville's history, with very serious repercussions to follow. But not to end on such a depressing note, I want to thank all of the members of our planning board, with Bob, with Bob Graham at the helm, for all the intense scrutiny, discussions, hours upon hours spent on this application. I can only imagine how frustrating the whole process must have been for each of you, with your hands tied, with being restricted in your normal, wonderful review process. You have definitely done everything in your power to make many relevant improvements to the proper functioning and security of the structure. You could not save the day, but you certainly did your best. Thank you. And one PS, very important to remember, everyone, that the name of our downtown center is Alcott Square, legitimately.
You need them.
Put in that. Janice Virtue.
Sorry, can I get that again?
Janice, Janis Virtue.
VIR.
T is in Tom, UE. 17 Charlesworth Avenue.
17.
Charlesworth Avenue.
Thank you.
Bernardsville.
You did, right, and you swear to God or affirm that the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth.
Yes.
Please proceed.
So I think I wanted to speak after so many of you did, because I feel something and I'm hoping that all of you do. I have a feeling you do. But I do want to talk about feelings and speaking from the heart. Because this isn't just about the applicant coming, presenting something that they can pass in this town and make it with all due respect. Whoever's paying you will make money from it. It's about so much more. It's about where we live. It's about our homes. It's about the people we know. It's about our community. And if this project, look at, from what I understand, it's going to go through and how that happened, I'll never know. But it's going to change Bernardsville forever. So I think I want to start, look at, I just jotted down a lot of notes, but one of the things I said was, you know, I was driving through towns when the kids were dismissed from high school. And I will tell you that traffic came to a standstill. There were a lot of children crossing across Route 202 from, where Peapack Gladstone Bank is.
I'm sorry,
right?
where,
Near where Peapack Gladstone Bank is, across that way and then down, because they have to cross, the people that live on the other side of town have to cross over. I will tell you, I watch little kids on the corner of 202 and Mount Airy Road. I will tell you, it's frightening. There's traffic coming from all over. It's a highway, it's a route, it's not a street. By the way, I live on Childswell Avenue and already, and it's been like that, I've lived there for over 50 years. People cut through town and go over my street all the time. Why? Because they don't want to go through town because there's too much traffic as it is. Let's see. So we're talking about impact on schools. We're talking about increased enrollment. We're talking about higher taxes. We're talking about impact and increased services, police, fire, EMT. By the way, they're volunteer. Well, fire department and EMT are volunteer. Will they go to pay more taxes? Let's see, what else do I have here? I think there were too many unanswered questions about this project. And by the way, there are people sitting here, but let there be no mistake, there are so many more people for whatever reason that are not here tonight. Maybe they're busy, maybe they're on vacation, maybe they weren't aware of this meeting, I don't know. But I guarantee you, there's a lot more people that object to this than what you see here tonight.
Yeah.
We must consider the health, welfare, and safety of the people in this town. I travel from town to town and I see these cubicles being built. They're all the same. They're little boxes. Look at the big picture. What do we want to do? Do we want to have a 15-minute city? Do we all want to live in a place where we can track, trace, and control? Because I actually think that's what's going on here. Let's see now. So the applicant comes, presents, and leaves, and then we're all left here because we're living here. We're staying here. So let's see what other notes I have here, but anyway, if it were up to me, I would reject the whole plan. We probably can't do that. So I would urge you to put as many restrictions on this project as you possibly can. And by the way, it's not going to increase business. The businesses in this town they're not gonna get any more businesses. So the whole thing is just not good. And I thank you very much, and I thank you for doing the jobs up there.
Dave McElwain, 230.
I'm sorry, Dave.
McElwain, McIlwain, 230 Mount Harmony Road,
Sorry, 2:30.
Mount Harmony Road. Okay. So I also would like to reiterate what, oh, I'm sorry.
Please don't leave me out. Do you swear to God or affirm that the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you. Please proceed.
So I'd also like to thank you for the work that you guys do. As I've lived in Bernardsville for many of the past 60 years, I run a small business and I really don't have the time to look into any of this detail, and I appreciate you're doing it. I think, like the last speaker said, there are many people in town who have no idea of any of this detail. I practically didn't know any of the, much of the detail until sitting in the session today. Maybe I should have, but I don't. And I would just say, you know, I run a small business and I sit in the Marion area traffic almost every day, and it's brutal. It's an enormous waste of time. And adding 64 units at that choke point will only make that vastly worse. Schools and taxes are an issue, you know, and greed is an issue. I worked in finance for many years, you know, 64 units is a lot better than half that number of units. But, you know, it probably should be half. This project, in my view, brings Bergen County to Bernardsville, which I don't think anyone really wants here. I asked people to consider a very brief density analysis, maybe to look from the railroad side, from Mount Airy Road to the train station in that property area. I don't know how many square feet that is, but how many units are in that area versus the 64 units, you know, in the area that's been proposed. And then the Amerman parking lot. If you get rid of the Amerman parking lot, where are people going to park to go downtown? You know, parking is clearly an issue for small businesses, so that's a killer. You know, I know it's tough to make things happen when you have a tight downtown, but maybe we should be thinking outside of the downtown. And that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yes,
9 o'clock.
we will take a break and reconvene at 9.
Okay, thank you.
9 p.m.
Yeah.